Good morning, and welcome to a candidate forum featuring candidates for Galt City Council for this fall election. My name is Tricia Erhammer. I'm a member of the League of Women Voters of Sacramento County, and I'm moderating today's forum. This forum is co-sponsored by the League of Women Voters of Sacramento and the Sacramento Metropolitan Cable Television Commission. This forum is being viewed live by an audience here in the Sacramento County Board of Supervisors chambers and by a live cable television audience at home. It is also being taped for rebroadcast on Metro Cable Channel 14. The League of Women Voters is a nonpartisan, nonprofit organization of both men and women established to promote political responsibility through informed and active civic participation and in voting. The League does not support, oppose, or evaluate political candidates or parties. Although our nonpartisanship policy does not permit endorsement of political parties or candidates, we do, after very careful study, take positions on political issues. The format for today's forum will be as follows. Each of our candidates will make a 1-minute opening statement. Next, the candidates will respond to questions from our experts, panelists from the media. The questions were submitted by the panelists and reviewed by League members. The candidates have not seen these questions. Each candidate will have 1 minute to respond to each of the questions. And finally, candidates will close with a 1-minute closing statement. In the interest of time and decorum, I ask that our audience hold applause until the end of today's forum. And now it is my pleasure to introduce the candidates who are running for Galt City Council. To my far right, Jean Davenport. To his left, Mary Lou Powers, Mark Cruz, Lori Hewer, and Daniel Hansen. Also running for Galt City Council but unable to join us today are Eddie Gomez, Mike Singleton, and Mario Garcia. The Galt City Council has a total of 5 seats in the City Council, and they are elected at large. This year's election is for 3 of those seats. There are a total of 8 candidates. Sitting on our expert media panel of questionnaires are Brian Gold from Galt Herald.
Morning.
And Jennifer Bonnet from Lodi News Sentinel.
Morning.
Welcome and thank you for joining us this morning. And now we are ready to begin with opening statements. The candidates have drawn straws to decide opening order. And now we will go to Jean Davenport. Jean?
Thank you. I want to thank the League, the Sacramento Metropolitan Cable Commission, and the Galt Herald and Lodi News Sentinel, and I appreciate the opportunity to be able to address you and the citizens of Galt. I want to run because I think I have something to offer to our citizens in our city. I've been a planning commissioner. I've been on the Measure G Oversight Committee, and I've been a volunteer in the community. I think we can do a better job of representing our citizens. As of now, I think we have a part-time administration on a full-time budget, and I think we need to address that. I think we need to address things that I think will improve our community. Bringing Delta College into our sphere of influence, I think is very important. I think it's vital for our youth. I think our youth are one of the most underserved segments of our population, and I think we need to do a better job of getting them to go to the next level, and I don't think we do that. There's issues with with the city administration and how they want to dole out administration fees for the water meter issue. I think it's terrible that you want to charge 5% interest on top of administration fee to install something that's mandated by the state. And I think that we should be able to do that as the entity in the city. And I appreciate your time on this, and I think I would be an asset to the city. I want to thank you.
Thank you. Next, Mary Lou Powers.
Thank you, and I do want to thank the League of Women Voters of Sacramento, Sacramento Metro Cable, and Brian and Jennifer for having us here today. It's been my honor to represent you as your mayor and council member in our beautiful city for the past 5 years. We have accomplished many projects during that time, including the completion of the Galt C Street interchange, the Twin Cities roundabouts, Walker Park, and Galt Senior Place. We have added many businesses to this town, including Cal Waste, Brewster's, and the Velvet Creamery. We have replaced 2 police motorcycles, issued over 100 permits for new houses, and created 700 jobs. As director of a nonprofit, I work within a very tight budget depending on funding and grants available. Consequently, working closely with the city manager to stay within budget, fiscal responsibility is always a major priority of mine. I've had the pleasure of serving you as the chair of the Planning Commission and working diligently as chairman of the Measure R Committee, ensuring the community stays safe by securing funding for our police department for additional officers to make sure that they have the resources and support to keep themselves and our streets safe. I have been a resident for almost 20 years and an active member of our community. I work here and am available at all times to meet and talk with my constituents. My son and grandchildren call Galt their home. I am asking you to vote for me so that our town can continue to strive through managed growth, making our community a safe, secure, friendly, and prosperous place to live for generations to come. Thank you.
Thank you. Mark Cruz.
Good morning. I too would like to thank the League of Women Voters and Sac Metro, Mr. Gold, Mrs. Bonnet. I've been a citizen of the city of Galt for 30 years. In that time, I watched it grow from a small, some would call hick town, to a beautiful little community that I love to call home. So much so that I became a police officer with that city and retired there as of 2009, just close to 20 years of experience in the law enforcement community. In that time, I grew to understand the problems of our community and work towards, as a police officer, towards helping to solve those. The two, as Mr. Davenport said, 2 areas that we really need to work on are our youth and our seniors. Our youth are our future. We cannot let them go by the wayside. Delta College is a beautiful idea that I hope comes to fruition for our city. Our seniors, that's our history. If we don't maintain our history, we're doomed to repeat the past. For the last 4 years, the City Council has strived to move this city forward, and it's succeeded in doing so. We balanced budgets 4 years in a row. When other agencies were laying off police officers during one of the worst financial times this state has ever seen, this nation's ever seen, we were hiring police officers. We were maintaining services. Yes, a lot of hard decisions were made, a lot of decisions that might not have been decisions that people liked, but they were decisions that kept the city running. They were decisions that helped our people maintain their way of life. If you vote for me, we will continue. We've reached a precipice. It's time to move on. It's time to build. Thank you.
Thank you. To my left, Lori Hewer.
Good morning. This election's about the future of our community. Galt is going to grow. The question for all of us is, what does that look like? If you're concerned about increased taxes, increased fees, increased water rates, the quality of our schools, safe neighborhoods, continued unemployment and low-paying jobs, and the quality of life in our community, I share those same concerns. We need a city council that hears our concerns and wants to work to fix the problems. And I will be that city council member. As a correctional nursing supervisor, I know how to manage staff, balance budgets, and understand public safety and security. As a former Galt school board president with a master's in boardsmanship, I know how to work as a partner with the school districts to ensure our schools provide first-class education. As a planning commissioner and commission chair during the adoption of the current general plan, I know about responsible growth and ensures development pays for itself while protecting our quality of life. If you share my concerns and goals, I would ask that you elect me your next city council member. Thank you.
Thank you. And Daniel Hansen.
Hi, my name is Daniel Hansen. I'm running for Galt City Council to represent the citizens of Galt. I will not lie to you or bring you false hopes to get your mind off the real issues that are happening in Galt. A little bit about myself. I worked 7 years for Kaiser as a lab tech. I also raced for breast cancer awareness because this is a cause that everyone is concerned about, including myself. I represent doctors in Workmen's Comp Court with a record of 872 wins and only 2 losses. I am not a lawyer. All I bring is facts. I had then and I do now for the citizens of Galt. I ask that you take the time to vote for Hansen and Gomez. Thank you.
Thank you. And now we turn to the question and answer portion of today's forum. Brian, will you please ask the first question first of Jean Davenport?
Good morning. Mr. Davenport, we'll start with you. How would you describe Galt? Would you describe it as a rural community, as a suburban community, a bedroom community? And what are your thoughts on possibly Galt becoming, say, an Elk Grove or a Lodi?
I think Galt is a bedroom community. I think it has the ability to build within itself to become more than that. I think with the developments that they have on the table now, it's kind of it's borderline whether either we're going to stay a bedroom community or we're going to grow into something else. I think we need to address the issue of how we're going to grow within our boundaries right now. I think we need to enlarge our sphere of influence to keep Galt out. I mean, to keep Elk Grove from encroaching any more than they are. We have wetlands just to our north that I think are very vital to us and very important to us. I think we need to maintain that and build around that. How we do that is, well, we had a bigger sphere 4 years ago. We don't have it today. I think we need to enlarge it and be common sense approach to housing and development for business.
Thank you. Mary Lou?
I see Galt as a great American little town that has a great future. I think we'll continue to stay small, but we need, through managed growth, to get to a place where we can bring more businesses in and bring some development, because we do need some more rooftops before we can bring in some of the bigger businesses that we would like. Elk Grove and Lodi are taking away a lot of our business because they have the growth that we need, but I would never in my time as a Galt City Council member envision being as big as Elk Grove or Galt. I want us to stay small but self-contained and be able to help our citizens by offering whatever we can in the city so people will not have to leave to go somewhere else.
Thank you. Mark?
Galt's kind of unique. It is a bedroom community, but it's surrounded by rural farms. It makes us a wonderful place to live. Our children get to grow up around farm animals. They get to grow up knowing what it's like to work for a living. Someone mentioned that our unemployment was high. Did you? In 2010, when I took office, our unemployment rate was 20%, way over the national average. As of 2 weeks ago, our unemployment rate was 11%, and it's going to continue to fall. That's my promise to you. What I want to see Galt do, I want to see it grow, but I want to see it grow smartly, as it has for the last 4 years. I don't want it to turn into an Elk Grove. Elk Grove sprawled. We don't want that. We want to keep the small town atmosphere. Thank you.
Thank you. Lori?
Hi. Galt is a really unique community. I think that we're a very diverse community. We have a lot of diversity in our population. We have a lot of school-age children, a lot of families, and then we have a lot of senior citizens. I think that we are unique and special. I envision us growing. I envision us bringing in more businesses. We have zoned, and we actually have land to bring in economic development and bring in corporations and businesses. A lot of communities don't have that. We sit between 99 and the I-5 corridor. We have this great opportunity. I think we just need to publicize ourselves to bring that opportunity greater. We will grow, but our growth needs to be managed, and we have a great recreational opportunities also. Thank you.
Thank you. And Daniel Hansen.
Galt is a family community. It also is a farming community. And what we have got with the council that we currently have is they've gone away from the farming. I want to keep with the farming. We have a dairy that used to be the #1 job source in Galt. Right now, I don't want to become a Lodi or Elk Grove, due to the fact my main concerns are not only the big businesses, but the small businesses of Galt and the people and the seniors of Galt. It looks like we are getting away from the people that actually created Galt in the first place with the seniors of Galt. The more and more we do, the less and less we help the seniors of Galt. So I am not looking to expand and get as big as Elk Grove or Lodi. Thank you.
Thank you. We move to the new question. Jennifer, would you please first ask Mary Lou?
Ms. Powers, now that the governor has vetoed the bill that could have released the city's redevelopment funds, what will you do to get projects such as the movie theater off of the ground?
Well, to be honest with you, I'm not really sure if that can happen again. I'm very disappointed about the redevelopment funds, as the city is going to have to pay interest on some bonds for 10 years before we can even give them back, and I think that was just so wrong for the governor to, again, tax cities. Sometimes I lose my train of thought. You're going to have to forgive me. We do have some grants that we can get, and we can work on some things that were in the pipeline. Revitalizing downtown is a top priority of ours. We're going to work to make downtown a quiet zone, well, the whole city a quiet zone. Working on getting more businesses down there. I'm really disappointed about the bond issue. Hopefully we can maybe take it to the courts and get some kind of answer on this.
Thank you. Mark?
This is something I've been chasing ever since redevelopment has been abolished. I think it was wrong to do it in the first place. It was a political move. It was caused by the governor having issues with a few cities down in Southern California who misused redevelopment, but the rest of us paid for it. The bond monies, for all practical purposes, the only thing we have left is an appeal. What are we going to do? We're going to keep moving forward. Yes, we're going to get grants. I sit on both the Sacramento Area Council of Governments. I also sit on the Air Quality Board. Also sit with the Economic Task Force. We're constantly looking for sources of money for the city. This is not a dead issue. It might have stunted our movement forward, but we're not done. We're fighters. We're going to keep moving forward. The governor doesn't control the city of Galt. Our citizens do.
Thank you. Lori?
I think that the development of the Old Town needs to continue to be a priority. I would make it a priority of mine. The quiet zone, we need to move forward that. We've talked about the quiet zone for years. We need to make it happen. We also need to, there's things that we can do to enhance the downtown area to bring in more economic development to it, such as moving forward with the park area. We need to landscape that property on the sides of the railroad tracks. We need to make it a town center, and it needs to be our town center. And I think if it's a town center, we will bring businesses down there. We will continue to encourage growth down there. But we need to move forward on the quiet zone and enhancing the Old Town landscaped area. Thank you.
Thank you. Daniel?
We need to, first of all, we need to apply for all the grants that are out there for the city of Galt. There is a lot of grants out there to bring in activities for not only the seniors, but the youth of Galt. By bringing those activities in, that brings in movie theaters and can bring in such as bowling alleys and different things. But our main concern that we need to concentrate on is activities for the youth and the seniors of Galt. These are our future, and these are the founders of the city of Galt. Thank you.
Thank you. And Jean?
You know, it's a 3-minute answered question. That's what I need for it. But that being said, the redevelopment fund, the program itself has been abused for 20 years. The fact that they waited to take the money when the state was in such a dire financial situation, I think speaks volumes to Sacramento and the federal level. We need to go to the federal government if we're going to continue to grow. We need to be a quiet zone tomorrow, not yesterday or day after. It needs to be happening. The development of downtown it should be a priority, and it's really vital to us growing as a community, because we need that aspect of who we're going to be. And I think that'll define us, and I think that'll help get us going down the right track. There's so many things that we can do. Everybody talks about getting grants and going out and get this, that, and the other. We could reach out for help, but I think we don't rely on businesses enough to come in and want to do businesses with us as a standalone. Why get grants? Come in and let us support you. Thank you.
Thank you. Brian, will you please ask the next question first, direct it to Mark Cruz.
So we talked about redevelopment. Let's talk a little bit about development in general. You get to play developer. Over on the Simmerhorn property are plans, but what would you personally like to see developed on that parcel?
Funny you should mention that. I think I answered it at the last forum. I'd like to see something like Home Depot or Target come in there as a start. But whatever follows needs to be something that marries with our existing businesses. We can't have something that's going to cause the businesses that are currently in town to leave. It's got to be something that benefits everybody in the town, no matter what it is. Home Depot would be a great fit. I'm a tinkerer. I love to build. But that doesn't mean I'm the only person that has a say in this.
Thank you. Lori?
Simmerhorn property. I think what would work really well there in my vision is that it's a commercial area, that it become a commercial area. It attracts the 99 corridor traffic. That we put something such as a larger department store, Kohl's, a Target, that we then have smaller stores like Trader Joe's, kinds of things that we don't have in Galt, that currently people have to travel outside of our community, and we lose the tax dollars when they leave our community. So if I was the developer, I'd develop it, I would do a commercial development, retail, and move forward.
Thank you. Daniel?
The Simmerhorn property at the current time and for the next 5 years, I would not touch the property whatsoever, due to the fact that we need to concentrate and have our concerns on the citizens of Galt and what is happening with the citizens of Galt and what they have to do. We are more worried about building but not taking care of Old Town Galt. Currently, Old Town Galt has buildings either side of the street you look at that are empty. So if we have buildings that are empty, why would we start building something bigger? For what? The future of becoming a Stockton? My main concerns, as I've said before, are my main concerns are the citizens of Galt and looking for the future of the citizens of Galt. Thank you.
Thank you. Jean?
The Simmerhorn project is kind of like in the gray area for me, because I think being in the drought, I don't think we build anything today. If we want to plan for something down the road, I think we can do that. I think we should have specialty shops. I wouldn't even consider a Home Depot for Galt at this time. We're a town of 25,000 with outlying areas, maybe 35,000. We have an Ace Hardware that's been a part of our community for 20-something years. I think it would be disingenuous to put in something that would be a direct assault on a hometown entity. You talk about building up the community. That's not how you do it. You don't bring Fortune 500 companies in to develop in your town and take the money out. You want people that will come in and keep the money in. Ace Hardware keeps the money in. Home Depot wouldn't. I just think we need to give that some thought and not consider that until we're out of restrictions on water.
Thank you. Mary Lou.
I have always envisioned, and this is going to sound a little odd, but a small, like Payless Shoe Source. There's a lot of people and families in town that go through shoes. You know how kids go through shoes, and I think it's something that we really need. I would build it up retail to get more tax dollars. As the time comes, our retailers will come. I envision maybe a Target also, but I'd really like to see another restaurant there, like an Applebee's or a Chili's. A lot of our tax dollars do go out of town, so as we can continue to grow, I would hope that we would continue to bring retail in, that it would be a place where a lot of these businesses would like to come, and that we can keep our dollars and our citizens here in town shopping and doing what all of us do.
Thank you. We'll move to the next question. Jennifer, will you please direct the question first to Lori Hewer?
Sure. What kind of impact might the proposed Indian casino north of Galt have on the city, and how will you guard against encroachment?
I think the Indian casino could have a lot of effect upon our city. It could have an effect on law enforcement. It can have an effect on, it could have lots of negative effects. It could also have some positive effects in that we don't have a lot of recreational opportunities for citizens. We do a lot of our local fundraisers and those kind of events. But for most people, they have to leave town for a night out, unless you go to Brewster's, but otherwise we don't have a lot of restaurants, so it would bring some of that activity. I know personally my mother would be thrilled. She would love it. I think that we really need to weigh the negative impacts, though, and I know that I work up in the Jackson area, and just watching what happened initially with the Jackson Rancheria and law enforcement, it was very difficult.
Thank you. Daniel?
Just like I said in my opening statement, I will not bring false hopes to the people of Galt. The Indian casino is not even on the table right now. To bring that, they started land on Highway 88. They broke the ground on Highway 88. The same tribe. What ended up happening, they stopped building immediately. So you have ground that is broken. So why not concentrate right now on what the mid-range is for Galt? We need to concentrate on what is going on in Galt and the concerns of the citizens, not the concerns of a dream 10 years down the line.
Thank you. Jean?
I think it's a double-edged sword. I think it's the project in itself is not a bad thing, but it also, you have to look at how it's going to affect the community and where we're going to grow from that. What kind of jobs is it going to bring? Are they going to be family wage jobs? We don't really know that. And Daniel's right in the sense that it's on the drawing board, but to get everything done, to get it federally approved for Indian land, it's 12 years down the road. At the earliest, I believe, if somebody can tell me different. But, so, it's I don't think that's a legitimate question in the sense, what are we going to do tomorrow? What we need to concentrate on is what we're going to do now. And I think that's my thought on it.
Thank you. Mary Lou?
The Indian casino is closer than we think, but farther away than most would expect. It's a long process, but we have met with the tribe, and they're a good tribe. They're good stewards of the area. They will work very well with the city, helping a lot of the nonprofits. They've got some wonderful things going out there. As Lori said, there'll be a theater maybe, and restaurants, a place for people to go if gambling is your deal. The other thing is, weighing the pros and cons will have a very valid effect on all of this. We have to see what's good, what's bad, and we need to listen to our citizens and see if that's really what they want out there. That's why we hold public meetings, and that's why we hope people will come to express their opinions. Thank you.
Thank you. And Mark?
I'd like to see this come to town if the impacts to the city can be mitigated. I've spoken with council members and staff from other cities who have casinos in their sphere of influence. They're very happy with their neighbors after they've mitigated the problems. Yes, there will be problems brought along as well as the benefits. They also admonished me that we need to have an experienced legal team ensure everyone has their concerns met, all of our citizens, all of our representatives. When is this going to happen? Probably 5-7 years down the road at the earliest. The wheels in the federal government move very slowly. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll move to the next question. Brian, would you please direct the next question to Daniel Hansen?
Mr. Hansen, we've heard about the casino. People have mentioned Delta College south of the city as a possibility. There's also the Liberty Ranch Properties Eastview project east of the city. Should the city council's focus be on the outside coming in or on infill going out?
We should be concentrated on the infield. We need to concentrate on the businesses that we have here and making sure they are profitable and making sure they survive. I hear Home Depot being said, I hear the casino talked about, and I've also heard Delta College. I have spoken to Delta College Vice President Steve on few occasions. There is no contract right now, and the soonest they look into the future is 5 to 10 years down the road before anything would be done. So my main thing is we need to focus on downtown Galt and getting all the empty buildings filled and concentrating on the businesses of Galt and making sure they do survive. Thank you.
Thank you. Jean?
I think you need to start with infill, but don't ignore your sphere and how you're going to address that as you go down the road. I think there's a lot of projects we can do inside. It's just like I just heard for the third time that the movie theater is going to, first it was on the east side, then it was downtown, now the Indy Casino is going to put a theater up. So when are we going to get a theater? I don't know. But Delta College, I think, to say it's 5 years down the road is disingenuous because I think they have a game plan that they're not telling us about, and I think we need to approach them and find out what it is, because they put Mountain House together in under 2 years, and that's north of Tracy. So I just think we need to concentrate on the infill, but we can't ignore what is going to be in our sphere and how we're going to develop as a city.
Thank you. Mary Lou?
Infill is difficult, but we always try for that first. It's hard to get a builder to come in and build one house at a time on certain lots all around the city. As far as expanding our sphere, I've always been one for that. I voted to expand our sphere when I was on the Planning Commission. It didn't go our way. Bringing in other businesses and more homes would be great. The Eastview area out there is wonderful. They'll bring the school in, and they'll bring themselves in when they start building out there. As far as Delta College is concerned, it's probably closer than we think too, as our city manager has been talking with the board at Delta College on 3 separate occasions, and we're in the phase now of looking at the feasibility of Delta College being on that area out on Liberty Road.
Thank you. Mark?
Wow. Infill obviously is real important. If we have land, we need to build on it. One of the things that was mentioned was our sphere of influence. In 2010, when this current council came on board, we were at the tail end of LAFCO's votes to shrink our sphere of influence. Who in their right mind gives land back? So I'm a strong proponent of putting our sphere back out where it was, to expanding our areas where we can have room to grow. Do we want to grow quickly? Of course not. We want to grow smart. We want to do things in the best interest of our community. With that said, infill first and foremost. Thank you.
Thank you. And Laurie?
Well, luckily as a nurse, I know how to multitask. I think that's what it takes. We need to look at all of those areas. I think it's important, the infill and the projects that are slated for the outside. One of the things to do about the infill is I think we need to look at some of the zoning, and actually currently serving on the Zoning Ordinance Update Committee, because we might need to look at some of the zonings of those properties that are not filled on the infill. Because there's some that are zoned for offices that maybe we need to look at zoning that elsewhere so that developers could develop those properties. So infill, of course, is a priority, and I think that's how I would handle that. Delta College, well, Delta College would be a wonderful addition to our community, and I hope that we can work to make that happen. Thank you.
Thank you. Jennifer, please direct the next question to Jean Davenport.
Mr. Davenport, there are a number of housing developments on the horizon for Galt. How will you work with our local school districts to plan for that ultimate outgrowth that those will result from?
I would rely on them for the information that I need to progress on this. I think we need to be careful how we proceed with that, in the sense that right now we have separate high school districts. We need to incorporate them into one. That means we bring Liberty Ranch in. The elementary schools has got great leadership, and I think they would be forward thinking of what we need to do. I just think we need to approach it where we listen to what they need, and then we go from there. But if we, at this rate, we have kids outside of the city that are coming into school, we need to keep that in mind, because as we enlarge our sphere, we need to understand that we have to, do something for those folks. We have to be representative of their ideas and their wants. And I think we just ask the school districts, and we approach it from that aspect, because they're doing what they need to do, and we need to be there for them.
Thank you. Mary Lou?
We need to work with the developers to look at the demographics of Galt. We closed a junior high, we opened another high school, and times change and demographics change. People may or may not be having more children now. We don't know. We need to look into that. As far as the Eastview out on Liberty Ranch, they will be putting in an elementary school. So apparently someone's been looking into that. It'll be a large number of houses where the kids can go, and it'll be right next to the high school. So I think we just need to keep looking at how Galt is growing, where the demographics are, and what kind of schools we need to have for our children.
Thank you. Mark?
Wow, when you ask what we should be doing, we're already doing it. The city, the business community, and the school districts are all working together right now, this day. They have been doing so since late 2010. Again, because of this current council, we wanted to bring everybody together to make decisions, and it has to continue to be that way. It can't be one group making the decision. This is a community. Everybody has to have a voice in what's being said.
Thank you. Lori?
Actually, in 1996, when I was elected to the high school board, me and Tony Gore, the mayor at the time, worked together to form a committee that was called the 2+2, and then we named it the CAST, Cities and Schools Together. That committee still operates today to work on those issues. I think that's important. The Eastview project, one of the reasons why I greatly support that project is because Liberty Ranch needs to be within the city of Galt. When we bought that property, I was on the board when we bought that property in 1998. At that time, the city promised us that that project could be brought within the city limits. It's still not within the city limits. We need to finish that, and the Eastview project will allow us to do that. Thank you.
Thank you. Daniel?
We need to tell the developers that they need to hook the water and sources up that we need for Liberty Ranch to have their own football field and their own recreational place, so that both schools do not have to use the same field to play football or any type of sports. The reason that is if you look at Elk Grove, how it has helped Elk Grove not only build, but it's actually helped grow Elk Grove very financial by having the developers pay to hook the schools up instead of saying, we will pay. Thank you.
Thank you. Brian, please direct the next question to Mary Lou Powers.
Let's kind of continue along that city-school theme, and that the city does have relationships with both Galt school districts. What about those relationships would you like to change or improve?
I think we're working very well now with the schools and the boards. I think that for the first time in a long time, we have all gotten together. I worked to get the first 5 grant for Fairside School. We have people working for after-school programs now for the kids. We work with the churches, the school boards, everything to get kids after school going to a place where they can go and study and do homework. We've just started the Police Activities League, where we hope that will further in at Fairsight School, getting kids after school to come in, use the computers, and have a place just to hang out and be. It's very important that after school, we have a place for our kids to go to, and I think that we're working very well with all the schools to get that to happen.
Thank you. Mark?
We continue what we've been doing. We continue communication between the schools and the city. We are very blessed in the fact that we have some wonderful programs at our schools, and the city's very proud of it. At least as a member of the council, I can say I am. We have the best academy out there that teaches our children engineering, different other sciences that just are phenomenal. We have the regional FFA headquarters right in our town. We have one of the best agricultural programs in the state. So what we need to do is continue the communication and continue doing whatever we can to support what the schools want to do to support our children.
Thank you. Lori?
Actually, the schools are one of the things that I am most proud of in Galt. We have wonderful school districts. It's one of the things that makes our community a great place to live. I have a long history of involvement in the schools. As I said, I've served on the school board. I know our school districts. I know the people involved in our school districts. It's all about continuing to work on relationships and continuing to move forward in providing those services for our students and our families. Thank you.
Thank you. Daniel?
I really do like the way that the schools are talking with each other and communicating with each other. But the problem is we do need to get more input from the teachers. I have spoken to a few teachers, and they said every time they try and put in their input, it is just pushed to the side. I believe that the people on the board and the teachers should communicate better, and everybody's concerns, including the teachers and the parents, be inputted into the schools. Thank you.
Thank you. And Jean?
At the end of the day, the question should be about what we can do for each student. That's what this is about. This is about the educational system and what it does for the students. And you approach that from that angle, and then you get involved with the administration and the teachers along the way, and you see how that can benefit them and how you can come together. I don't really have a great knowledge of what the situation is now that some of the other candidates do. But at the end of the day, I'm about helping our youth in the city, so whatever I need to do, I'd be a part of the process. That's the best I can say. Thanks.
Thank you. It's great to hear pride about your public schools. Let's move to the next question. Jennifer, will you please direct it to Mark?
Mr. Cruz, as you know, city council members have a small amount of discretionary money to spend on projects, programs, or events subject to the approval by the rest of the city council. How will you spend your allocation if elected?
I already am. When this first came forward that they gave the discretionary monies back to the council, I was the only dissenting vote, because that money belongs with the city and with the people in the city. What I've done with it is I'm paying honor to our young men and women of the military. I've created a program where banners are put up for those who are overseas in harm's way, so that they know that we still care. We're looking forward to them returning home safely. When they do return home safely, that banner is taken down and presented both to them and or their family members. And that's what I'm going to continue to do. That belongs to the people of the community, and it's the best way I can use that money to benefit those young men and women who are protecting our freedoms.
Thank you. Lori?
We have members of our community that come forward with great ideas, and I think that the discretionary funds should be used as seed money for those great ideas, for ideas that can blossom, that can grow, that we look at that. Do you keep yourself open to the idea of different projects? Because oftentimes it's just that idea from that 14-year-old kid that can become something that's a major impact upon our community. So I would look for those small ideas that we can provide the seed money for to become big ideas.
Thank you. Daniel?
Personally, I would like to see more senior activities and more youth activities. So what I would do personally is I would challenge Kevin Johnson and Sacramento Mayor and City Council to programs that will benefit both Galt and Sacramento by challenging them to basketball programs where all the profits will either go to the youth or to the seniors of each city. This way, we can make it for everyone to have a positive impact and everything to be positive for the citizens of Galt and not negative to use money for only one point or the other. Thank you.
Thank you. Jean?
If we're going to have discretionary funds, which that's debatable in this economy, if we should even be having that, I think we need to be careful how we approach it. But any money that we have in a discretionary fund has to stay local. It cannot go outside of the community. It has to benefit from within, period. No other, I don't think there's any other option. But I still think in this, you know, we have a city hall that's only open 4 days a week. Yeah. So why do we have discretionary monies? I mean, we should put that towards putting the people back to work full time.
Thank you. Mary Lou?
I take great pride in the way I use my discretionary fund, and I use it when things come along and ideas come along that kind of hit me in one way or the other. I've used it to be startup money for the Commission on Aging. When they were working on making a bench at Harvey Park, they had a budget, but they didn't have money for funding to feed the volunteers their lunch, so I paid for lunch for the volunteers. When our police officer, Officer Ton, was killed in the line of duty and they had to retire his police dog, I put my money toward training a new canine for the city. I also gave some of the money for the community garden where our seniors and kids alike can get together and commiserate and have a good time and grow healthy food for the community for the young and the old.
Thank you. I think we have time for a couple more questions. So Brian, would you please direct the next question to Lori Hewer?
Ms. Hewer, we've seen instances where businesses have either left Galt or they've moved around to different areas. For example, Fitness Pro moving from a retail area to the industrial area. What incentives would you offer to businesses to locate in retail areas of the city?
Businesses, well, what incentives? I think one of the things that needs to happen is that we do need to increase our population. We do need more rooftops to make businesses more viable. The other thing is that, you know, to keep those retail spaces, to keep the spaces in the city, you know, as we enhance our city and continue to maintain our landscaping and the appearance of our city, that also helps those businesses because it makes them look better and makes people want to come to their business. There's businessmen need to make a living, and they need to go to the area that works the best for their business. And I think that the city just needs to make the ordinances and be welcoming to those businesses so that they can prosper.
Thank you. Daniel?
Brian, I have to say this is an excellent question that you have asked. What I would do is I would try to see about getting tax breaks and find out the concerns of this business and why they were interested in moving into the industrial. I would like to keep all the businesses close as possible because when someone goes into such as Walmart or any retail that you have, if other businesses are there, they usually profited off of the extra. Most people, when they go shopping for everything. When people go work out, once they get done working out, they'll go to a Subway. They'll end up going to a juice bar or anything such as that. So I would do whatever I needed to do to bring them back to the malls. Thank you.
Thank you. Jean?
Incentives, you know, Fitness Pro moved because they needed a bigger place and they wanted to modernize. They'd been in that shopping center for a long time, and I think they became an entity that wasn't really built for that shopping center. And so they moved to a facility in the business district where now it's modernized. It's huge. They've added equipment. So I think that was a business decision for them to do. I think you help businesses like you help citizens. You do what you can do to make it better, to make it easier, to make it more profitable and more successful. I don't think you promise incentives. I just think that's disingenuous to the taxpayer. I think we need to take care of everybody equally, treat citizens and our local businesses alike.
Thank you. Mary Lou?
I think that's a very good question, and I agree with Jean that sometimes people just need to move. They need to be in a bigger place, or they need to go where they think the business is going to be. Sometimes they end up in the industrial like Squeeze In did. What they do is they go to the Planning Commission, of which I've been on, a lot of us here have been on, and ask for a rezoning. You know, if you need to go somewhere else, you just need to come and ask. And most of the time, if it's not something quite off the wall, we're more than happy to put you where you think you need to be.
Thank you. And Mark?
I kind of agree incentives is not a good idea. What you should be doing is increasing and improving your infrastructure. As a sitting member of the board on Sacramento Area Council of Governments for the last year, I've been able to bring in over $8 million in grants that help with the streets, the sidewalks, and the infrastructure within our city. The C Street corridor, the Lincoln corridor, and the 4th Street corridor, all business areas within our city are going to be getting facelifts, are going to be getting increased infrastructure that's going to help them and help their customers. That's what we should be doing, not giving incentives. That's basically giving citizens money away. You don't do that.
Thank you. I think we still have time for a couple more questions. Jennifer, would you please direct the next question to Daniel Hansen?
Mr. Hansen, Galt has quality parks and recreation program thanks to revenue from rent at the Galt market. What are ways the Galt market could generate additional revenue, and how should the city spend that money?
Jennifer, that is another excellent question. The last two questions, one from Brian and one from you. One, Parks and Rec is not doing enough for the youth. They do not have enough programs for the youth. Yes, they are receiving quite a bit of money from the Galt market, but yet they are not doing nothing for the seniors and nothing for the youth. There's no activities. Yes, this council and the council before came up with POW, and then also came up with a program called Jail. Why would any parent send their kids to a program called Jail? I am a father of 7 children, and I am a grandfather of 1 child. And I would never, and I don't think anybody in the community would send their kids to anything called jail. Thank you.
Thank you. Jean?
Well, you know, I don't really have an answer for that in the sense that I know the interworkings of how the city, you know, spends their money that they get from the Galt market. I know that Parks and Rec is really overseen by the city manager's office, and they have a tight budget. Recently, the Galt Sunrise Rotary Club partnered with the city to sponsor an event for special needs kids and adults in our community. And they service Lodi, Elk Grove, and Sacramento individuals also that are allowed to come in. But we partnered with them. I mean, we give the city a stipend of X amount per year, and the city covers their end of it. So in partnerships as you go forward, I think that's the best idea. The things you can improve to get more money, I really don't know.
Thank you. Mary Lou?
Funny you should ask that question. I just met last week with the vendors at the market and our head of Parks and Recreation. It's been difficult times for all of us with the internet coming up and people not going out as much, and the vendors are struggling also. We are trying to work on a comprehensive way that through the winter we can get all of us to make money and to not have to be suffering any losses. We are going to try to encourage our vendors to come more than one day and to have their fees be lowered, along with trying to work with ways to advertise and to get more people out to the Galt market.
Thank you. Mark?
Interesting question as far as the funds. The funds for the Galt market stay within Parks and Recreation. That was an agreement with both the state and county for those lands being given to the city. So any monies are mandated going back to the operation of Parks and Recreation and to the Galt market. For the past, I'd say 7-8 years, the general funds actually had to supplement that because of the decline in businesses that's coming in there. Some of the things that are being done right now is they're making it easier for patrons and easier for the vendors out there. The patrons now have the ability to use EBT cards out there. What we need to do is attract more businesses and make it such that they want to come there. I remember working there as a police officer. The place was packed. There was no spaces. They had a waiting list. Not the case anymore. We need to get back there.
Thank you. And Lori?
One of the things I'd like to see about the Galt market is that at the time of day, it's open during the day on a Tuesday and Wednesday. It's a great revenue source for Parks and Recreation. We've been able to build wonderful facilities. We need to maintain the infrastructure of the market, but I'd like to see us expand the market to evening hours when a lot of our working families, when a lot of people who live outside of our community could come in the evening, especially during the summertime when we could do some sort of a farmer's market, a bigger market, maybe on a Tuesday. A lot of the vendors come on Tuesday and they stay till Wednesday, or they come on Monday night and they park and stay until Tuesday, to explore the idea of having an evening market to enhance the revenue source. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. And I think we'll move to our final question. Brian, will you please address it to Jean?
Jean, water meters.
Water meters.
Some residents, some households, excuse me, are on water meters. Other households have paid for the devices, and other households have yet to pay for the water meters. This is a state mandate. So what would you do to bring balance or fairness throughout the city of Galt?
I can't answer it in a minute, but the abbreviated version is the entity should pay for that service. If you're telling me that certain homeowners bought their water meters with their houses, then they paid sticker price for the house. That's the analogy that the folks want to use at the city. So if they were asking $165,000 and they paid $165,000, they paid for their water meter. If they paid $160,000, I'm saying they got a free water meter. Because it's not right to say one segment paid and the other one didn't. At the end of the day, the city water department should be incorporating that cost over 25 years to anybody who has to purchase it without an administration fee, which is a joke, and 5% interest, which is worse than a bank. It's just wrong. We have to readdress that. We need to bring it back. And look, this is something that we have to have. Okay, let's put it in and be realistic in what we're going to do to charge and to get to recoup the money.
Thank you. Mary Lou?
It is a hot subject, and it can't be done in a minute, and it just kind of bothers me that people are trying to use that as their push button to get reelected. We worked for 2 years on the water meters, and you can debate whether somebody paid for theirs or somebody didn't. It was put in as a fee when you bought your house. Two-thirds of the families in the city of Galt have already paid for the meters, while another third haven't. My parents always taught me that you have to pay your fair share. There's so much more in this water meter deal than just trying to screw a third of the people out of $300, that it just is really starting to drive me nuts. I did make a mistake, and I will always admit to my mistake when it came to charging the 5.5% and for asking for an administration fee. I didn't want to make it an election issue. I was going to bring it up after the election, but I am bringing it up next week at council to amend that, and I'm hoping that the rest of my council members will do the same. Thank you.
Thank you. Mark?
As the mayor said, that it's coming back up on the October 21st council meeting. When that vote came up, I voted against it, not because I didn't want the water meter charges being put out there. $300 was what everyone else paid, and they didn't pay it through their mortgage, they paid it through fees. And usually those fees are paid by the developer. The people who are currently, the 1/3 of the citizens that are currently looking at paying it should only pay the $300. They shouldn't pay the fees, they shouldn't pay interest, and I'd like to see it extended more than 3 years into like a 5-year period. You have seniors out there on fixed incomes that are getting maybe $600, $790 a month. $10 is 2 meals. Let's extend it out so it's a lot less than that. At least it's more palatable for them. And I'm with the mayor on this one when it comes to the council meeting on the 21st. Thank you.
Thank you. Lori?
The water meter's done. Would have I done it differently? Yes, I would have done it differently. It's not mandated by the state until 2025. So you can argue and debate the water meter issue, but the water meters, basically the decision's been made, and we need to move forward. The one thing that I am concerned about that we need to move forward on are what are those water rates going to be? Because in passing the water meter fees and in passing the issue regarding the water meters, they've never told us what our fees are going to be. And I truly believe that when we start being metered, our water rates are going up, and we do have a lot of citizens in our community that cannot afford to see an increase in their water rates.
Thank you. And Daniel?
One, the water meter, I personally and Mr. Gomez would rescind the water meter fee. Two, the city has elected to put in smart meters. The smart meters last 10 to 15 years before they have to be replaced. The smart meters have also been known to cause harm to seniors and children's youth. So why would we put those in? I have no idea. We should have never put in smart meters. We should have looked and seen what the harm was towards people before we go and put something in that will have to be replaced in 10 years. In 10 years, 10 years is 2025. 2025 is when the water meters are supposed to be put in. So what's going to end up happening is we're going to have to pay for new water meters to be put in at that time. So by the time California law states that we have to have, the regulation states we have to have water meters in, we will be on our second set of water meters. Thank you very much.
Thank you. That concludes the question and answer portion of today's forum. We now move to closing statements. Jean Davenport.
I want to thank everyone for attending and being a part of this process. I think that's what drives us as a city, is our involvement. Is we got a great community where we're all involved and we like to stay a part of. But the fact of the matter is, I think I bring a mentality that the city has a responsibility to its taxpayer, and I think we need to open City Hall back up 5 days a week, the 4 days a week. There are entities that come in once a month to work, but they're not available to the taxpayer. I think we're underrepresentative of the people that we represent. I think the taxpayer needs a better person in a position to make decisions for them that cares about how they're affected daily. The water meter issue is a political hot potato. It is part of what it is. But the mentality that this council has over what I would bring is I don't believe in administration fees for a service that we're entitled to. And I don't believe in a tax or an interest fee that we're entitled to.
Thank you. Mary Lou Powers.
Thank you, and thank you again for having us. You know, I think that everybody here has good intentions, and I think that if you need to look at misinformation that is being given out. I think that there's a little bit of misinformation, and that's just kind of wrong to put that out there. If you like what's been happening in the last 4 years, and I think that we've done quite a bit, you can look around the city and see a lot of improvements. You can see the interchange, you can see the roundabouts, you can see Walmart. We are working on the quiet zone. We're almost there. We're going out to bid on that in about a month, so we're rolling along with that. We are moving forward. In the beginning, we had some tough financial times. We all pulled together, including our employees, and asked them to take a step back so we could keep Galt going in the right direction, and that's what we've done. I would never take credit for everything myself. It takes a lot of people to do this, and I'm very happy with the people I'm working with now and hope that you will re-elect the incumbents. Thank you.
Thank you. Mark Cruz.
Wow, just to dovetail onto that, well said, Mary Lou. It's really nice when you have a team effort, and for the longest time, we've had so much infighting within the city. The last 4 years has been wonderful. We've had the city's employees, the administration, and the council all working together, listening to the citizens, doing what they're asking of us. Yeah, sometimes we don't do exactly what they want because of financial reasons, but we're doing things in their best interest. We don't make decisions or snap judgments. We do it based on information. We get all the information before the judgment's made or decision's made. Of the people up here, I can say Ms. Hewer, Mr. Davenport, Ms. Powers, and myself, they've got the information. I would suggest all the others who are running get the information before they start spreading out disinformation. Thank you.
Thank you. Lori Hewer.
I knew the first time that I came to Galt that this was a community where I wanted to live, that I wanted to be part of the community. As a 28-year resident of our city, I have a deep respect for our past, and I'm looking forward to our future. Galt is where my husband Tom and I raised our family, and where my parents came to retire, and where I plan to spend my retirement years. As your elected city official, I have promised to represent you and to always listen to your concerns and explain my decisions to you. I promise to work with all members of our community to improve and protect our quality of life. My experience and knowledge make me uniquely qualified to serve, and I am ready to go to work for you. If you have any further questions for me, I can be reached at 745-9730. Thank you to the League of Women Voters for hosting this forum and to the voters for joining us. I ask for your vote on November 4th. Thank you.
Thank you. And the final word from our candidates today, Daniel Hansen.
When we are voted into City Council, we will start having town hall meetings so that we can get the input of all the concerned citizens in the city of Galt. We will also start having Family Day, Kids Day, and Senior Day at the park, where there'll be a free movie for everyone to watch, like is done in other communities. Not only does this bring the communities together, it actually has shown that it brings down crime. I would also like to address Mr. Cruz. Public health and personals and science are the ones that brought out the information about the harm that the water meters, the smart water meters, will cause to children and seniors. I would like to thank everyone for watching today. I would like to thank the Women's League for having us, and I'd also like to thank Brian and Jennifer for bringing the questions to us. And have a great day.
Thank you. On behalf of the League of Women Voters of Sacramento County and the Sacramento Metropolitan Cable Television Commission, I thank the candidates and the panelists for participating. Today, the panelists and the candidates have brought the issues of the uniqueness of Galt, the housing, economic issues, water meters, and education to help inform you, the voters, to make an informed choice. And that is our goal. We offer these rebroadcast times. You can look up the rebroadcast times in a variety of ways. For voter information and rebroadcast times, you may go to www.smartvoter.org or the League of Women Voters of Sacramento County website at www.LWVSacramento.org. The League wants to thank also all the many volunteers in the chambers today who helped make this candidate forum possible. The League welcomes both men and women as members, and we are devoted to the idea that this is where we work to safeguard democracy due to civic participation and involvement. Please remember to vote on November 4th and help make our democracy work. Polling places close at 8 p.m. Thank you.